Iran launched a fresh wave of missiles after the latest US airstrikes, widening tensions across the Middle East. Tehran warned that any country supporting American military operations could face retaliation. The latest missile launches came as Iran vowed to respond forcefully to continued US military action. Iran has tightened its military posture around the Strait of Hormuz, raising fears over global energy supplies. The IRGC says it remains ready to enforce what it calls full control over the Strait of Hormuz during the conflict. Jordan said its air defenses intercepted and shot down 5 missiles launched from Iran early on July 30th before they could reach their intended targets. The Jordanian military said all 5 missiles were destroyed in the air and that the interceptions caused no casualties or damage on Jordanian territory. The Iranian missile launches toward Jordan came shortly after US strikes targeted multiple Iranian military sites on July 30th, sharply escalating tensions. Iranian media reported that a US strike on Qeshm Island killed 3 people and wounded 2 others during the overnight attacks. Tasnim said US aircraft launched multiple missiles against several locations across Qeshm Island as part of the operation. IRIB also reported that US airstrikes targeted areas around Bushehr, Jam, and Kormoy during the same wave of attacks. The developments came as Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps issued a fresh warning directed at the United States and its regional allies. Statement by IRGC said, and I quote, "Zealous and ambitious people of Islamic Iran, your determination on the battlefield has disrupted the enemy's front and strengthened the ranks of Islamic warriors and given them new life. Last night, 2 oil tankers tried to leave the unsafe route south of the Strait of Hormuz with the instigation of American birds. But after a severe fire broke out in one of them, both vessels turned back quickly. Strait of Hormuz is our land, and the naval ships of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps are in full control of it, and a stranger who came from thousands of kilometers away will not be allowed to interfere. With the help of Almighty God, the aggressor will be punished today. Countries involved in aiding the aggressor will receive a harsh response if they do not correct their behavior. The Strait of Hormuz cannot be reopened as long as there are exaggerations and threats by American officials and their interference in maritime movements in the region, and threats and interventions will make the situation more difficult and complicated. An Iranian lawmaker also described closing the Strait of Hormuz as a natural response to recent US military actions against Iran. Nadegoli Ibrahimi said Iran's control over the Strait of Hormuz remained non-negotiable under any circumstances despite mounting pressure. Ibrahimi argued that abandoning Iran's position on Hormuz would amount to yielding to pressure from the country's regional adversaries. He also called for Iran to adopt a wartime posture to confront what he described as US and Israeli economic and currency warfare. After meeting Netanyahu, President Trump orders a fresh wave of military strikes on Iranian targets. Donald Trump ordered US Central Command to launch fresh airstrikes on Iran, escalating the confrontation and raising questions about what could come next in the ongoing conflict. US Central Command statement read, and I quote, "US forces began launching strikes against Iran at 8 p.m. Eastern Time today. The strikes are a powerful response to yesterday's attempted Iranian attacks on US forces based in the Middle East," unquote. The CENTCOM statement further read, and I quote, "At 10 p.m. Eastern Time on July 29th, US Central Command forces successfully completed a heavy wave of strikes against Iran in response to yesterday's attempted missile attacks on US forces. CENTCOM assets struck dozens of Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps targets in Iran, including military command centers, missile and drone facilities, coastal surveillance and defense sites, and maritime capabilities. The strikes aim to further diminish threats posed by Iran and its proxies to American forces, commercial shipping, and neighboring Gulf countries. On July 28th, IRGC forces launched multiple ballistic missiles from Iran in an attempted surprise attack on US forces based in the Middle East. All Iranian missiles were successfully intercepted. More than 50,000 US service members are currently deployed to the Middle East and remain highly vigilant, focused, lethal, and ready." Unquote. 3 explosions were reported on Qeshm Island, according to Iran's Tasnim News, raising fresh questions about the extent of damage caused by US strikes. US strikes reportedly targeted locations in Abadan, located in Iran's Khuzestan province, as military pressure continues to build across key areas. Additional US missile strikes were also reported near Avaz, Shadgan, and Avandkana, expanding the list of locations affected in the latest wave of attacks. Although, an Iranian official did not provide details on possible casualties, leaving the extent of the damage and human impact unclear. This comes as Donald Trump's warning against Iran appears to have turned into the latest series of strikes, marking another major development in the growing confrontation. Washington says it's now America's turn to respond as tensions with Tehran spiral once again.
On the attack, the drone attack on the LNG tanker off of Egypt, what can you tell us about that? And is there any indication it's Iran-related? Does it represent
Well,
a
I'll give you a report. I've been briefed. It's a little more of the same, but it's going to be straightening out. It's going to be straightening out. In the meantime, we're going to be hitting them very hard because it's our turn to hit them. They know it's coming. They're asking us not to do it, but they tried shooting it last night. So we had 5 rockets shot going 8,500 miles an hour, and all 5 rockets were knocked down to the ground. But they nevertheless took a shot, so it's our turn. And we'll see if we get there with an agreement at some point, but we're going to hit them very hard.
Iran reportedly fired first, prompting President Trump to authorize immediate retaliatory strikes. Trump's retaliation campaign begins with firepower after reports claimed Iran launched 5 missiles. After what officials described as a surprise Iranian attack, Trump vowed, "We got to smack them," before ordering a military response.
Under what scenario do you see Iran attacking U.S. installations and personnel overseas and you withdrawing?
I don't see that. No, we're not. No, we're gonna hit them very hard. I mean, I can actually say that because there's very little they can do about it. It was a different group than we're dealing with. They've already apologized, but we got to smack them a little bit.
Mr. President, will you hit back when they strike?
Will I always hit back?
Yes.
Pretty much. Yes.
Mr. President, just a point of clarity on that, sir. Is that in response to the attempted ballistic missile strike on Jordan last night? When you say it's our turn to hit back?
Yeah, I think more so that, because there was another smaller event. But no, they sent 5 8,000-mile-an-hour missiles at us. And fortunately, we had our people operating the greatest equipment in the world, namely the Patriot system. Think of it, 5 missiles going 8,600 miles an hour, big ones, coming right at us, and all 5 were shot down. How about that, right? Pretty good. Nobody else could do that but us, yeah.
Trump also revealed American troops had only a few critical minutes to intercept the surprise assault before it reached its targets. Despite the fresh escalation, Trump insisted diplomatic talks with Iran would continue even as military tensions spiraled across the region. The remarks came after Iranian forces launched fresh strikes on U.S. bases on July 28, while Trump was meeting Benjamin Netanyahu. The IRGC later released dramatic footage claiming to show ballistic missiles being fired toward a U.S. airbase in Jordan. The IRGC says it launched ballistic missiles at a U.S. airbase and a CENTCOM facility in Jordan on July 28. Iran described the strike as retaliation for what it called continuing American aggression against the Islamic Republic. The IRGC Aerospace Force claimed responsibility for carrying out the ballistic missile operation.